did want to ask about something on your website, and that
Sure.
is that you're offering author consultations.
Yes.
So I wanted to make sure I asked just to give us a little taste for what you can share with us on a podcast for free. What could people look forward to receiving if they were to sign up for one of those consultations?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you. Really anything. I'm a self-published author, so I went through it, and it is like, now I understand what people talk about with tearing their hair out. There were times where I was really ready to tear my hair out, and how frustrating it can be. And if you Google self-publish in, online, you're going to get like 2 million hits. I mean, there's just a million people out there who are ready to take your money, and it's hard to know what to do and what's worth the money and what isn't. So that's why I really want to leave it open-ended. If people are trying to decide, well, do I want to do a hybrid publisher? Do I want to try to get an agent? Do I want to, or I am self-publishing, but I'm stuck on this, and who should I use for an editor, and how should I do the cover, or how do I set this up, or who do you use for formatting? And I do a lot of this a lot with people that I'll meet at a talk, or I'll meet through someone or a friend of a friend. And I've found I spend hours and hours and hours and hours helping people, and I like doing that. But I've finally gotten to the point where I'm like, it would be nice to be compensated somewhat for some of my time, because I could lose a whole afternoon of my own writing time. And I feel like sometimes some of the advice people have given me, it was worth $500. Like, sometimes what someone can just tell you will save you like months of research where you wouldn't even find the answer on the internet. So I kind of just put that out there as an open thing, and happy to tailor it to whatever someone is looking for. But, I've been through the process twice, and also marketing. A lot of people approach me with asking for help with marketing, and I'd be happy to help someone come up with a marketing plan of what kind of bookstores do you want to try to get your book into, and approaching different groups to become a speaker, and all of that, because it really is. I mean, it's kind of overwhelming of how many different avenues you can take. So I'm kind of experimenting with it and seeing, but I would be very open to tailoring it to whatever help someone is looking for. And I'm happy to even do editing as well. So I actually just put that on my website just probably within the last month of putting that out there, because I love helping people, and so many people have helped me along the way, and I will forever be grateful for that. So, but I realize too, is the information that I know now, I would have paid a ton of money for it. If I could have sat down and paid someone a few $100s, and all the heartache it would have helped me. Even setting up setting up a small business is like, I was a French major. I mean, international relations, like, I've never run a small business. And there's so many things now that I wish someone had told me at the very beginning of, like, just, keep a list of every time you send books to like Mount Vernon. And like, now I need to go back, and I need to go all the way back to the beginning and realize, because I'd love to be able to say, oh, I've sold 500 books to Mount Vernon, but I didn't keep records of that from the beginning, and just all sorts of things. There's just so many different aspects of it. And so many things that I've just learned the hard way, that I'd be happy to save someone else some heartache. And, when it doesn't have to be. But writing can be very solitary, and it's sometimes it's just nice to have like a mentor out there, somebody rooting for you, that it can be done, and someone actually has crossed the finish line and can give you some tips, so it's not quite as painful getting there.
You can also start a podcast, and you'd be amazed at the incredible people that will come and offer you advice for no compensation whatsoever. As far as marketing goes, I saw that your events page for this year is just, your dance card is very full. You're constantly out and about and speaking. I'm sure that was curtailed a bit during the quarantine, but hopefully now that we're approaching the endemic stage, whenever that officially becomes the declaration or ahead of the new variant, whatever is happening in the future,
Yeah.
all of this will age badly by the time this airs. It always does when we talk about the pandemic. But as far as going forward, how are you getting all of those events booked and planned? Are you doing that on your own? Do you have a publicist that helps you with that?
No, I say it's like the Wizard of Oz. You pull back the curtain and it's just me. So I do all of it. So I'm still small, it's I'm not really making enough money to hire someone else, and I'm not and a lot of ways sometimes it's just easier to just do it yourself, and it's done, and I want to have my emails have the right tone, and I want to that people have said, oh, you should hire someone, and I just I just keep a lot of notes and got a lot of sticky pages, but it's cultivating relationships and meeting people and following up, and and then finding just finding neat people on Instagram and trying to connect and all that. But I try to keep my my website updated with all my events, so that I kind of use it myself as like making sure, okay, I have this at this time, and so the minute I book something, I put it on there. So because it's easy to lose control of all the details, because each gig is a separate email chain and a separate whole separate story. So it's just trying to be organized to keep on top of it, and then just kind of give myself a tickler to follow up with someone of, oh, I was going to hear from them in February, I haven't heard from them, I'll send them an email and see if they want to set something up. But yeah, the pandemic definitely put the kibosh on a lot of things, especially the school visits, which is a bummer, because I love it all, but I love doing the school visits. So it seems to be picking back up. So I'm looking forward to that. And I like doing the Zoom school visits. That's a lot of fun. I just had one a couple of weeks ago with a group in California. So that was really fun. So yeah, I speak at retirement homes, historical societies, museums, schools, anybody who wants to listen to me talk, I'm there. I love it. So it's because I'm more of an extrovert. So sitting home all day long, every single day gets old. Writing, I mean, I enjoy that, but it's nice to get out and do book signings and all that.
Well, presumably, once you've gone someplace and you've given an amazing presentation, they're going to refer you to other places, and that will help keep the ball rolling. Yeah.
Right. That definitely helps, is getting out there and meeting people, and each person you meet, refer, or, like I do I get a table at Berkeley Plantation here in Virginia. They have a first Thanksgiving, that was the first Thanksgiving in America. So they have a first Thanksgiving celebration in November. And that's great. I always just meet so many interesting history nerds like myself. So like I met someone from the Sons of the American Revolution. So I'm speaking to his group in a couple of weeks, but I met him at that. So that it is good. Every time I go out to an event, you just meet other people. And then I'll try to find Facebook groups. Like lately I've been trying to find homeschool groups on Facebook, and just trying to kind of be out there and receptive. And then every once in a while yesterday I got an email from a woman in Nashville, and she just found my book online and liked it, and wanted to have me do a Zoom talk with her class. So like that's an awesome feeling when I actually didn't even do anything and someone has found me. So that's really neat. So it comes in fits and starts. Sometimes I feel like, oh my gosh, there's nothing going on, and then sometimes I'm getting all these emails, and so it's kind of cyclical.
Never finds a nice even steady. At least my inbox never does.
Yeah.
Just crickets, or everybody in the world suddenly needs something right this minute.
Right. It is funny. Yeah, definitely. But it's also too, once when I first published my first book, this was 3.5 years ago, I went into, there's a really neat Richmond History Museum called the Valentine. And I went in there and they bought some books, and then and I had also gone to St. John's Church, and they said, oh, well, right now we're not in a buying mode. We're, the time of year we're not buying books right now, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay. And then they emailed me a few days later and they said, oh, somebody from our office was at the Valentine and they saw your book there. And now we want it. So we're going to, we do want to buy books. So that's the thing, is once you get in one place, like when I tell people, okay, my books are at Mount Vernon, my books are at Colonial Williamsburg, or, they're at Poplar Forest, or, St. John's Church, then people think, oh, okay, it's been vetted. So that's, it kind of, that makes it easier too. The more, it kind of, creates its own momentum too. The hardest part is really getting started. But, so, but I've realized, like with the Susanna book, it's been more popular with schools. Of course, the pandemic is, creates its own issues, but because it's a Revolutionary War book and most schools don't read or don't study the War of 1812, which I think, now I think that we should, but, so that's kind of been one where like at the retirement homes, when I like send them an email and I'll say, oh, I've got to talk on Dolley Madison. I've got one on Susanna Bolling, and, they're like, oh, Dolley Madison, because they know who she is, like the older crowd really likes her. So, so that's neat. It's just got, different, different audiences, and, the Dolley Madison ties in with like the First Ladies Museum. Like, they're supposed to reopen this spring, and they said they were going to carry it and have me do like a virtual event with them. So that would be neat. So that's kind of neat. And I've got it in, the Dolley Madison book is at the George W. Bush Presidential Museum, and the other George H.W. they're looking at it. And I've emailed a bunch of others. So that's the thing, is you kind of just send out the emails, and then if you hear back, you hear back. And if you don't, you don't, but at least you tried.
You have like a set list every day of, I need to send out this many emails or this week, or is it just in batches where I feel inspired to see how many people I can reach out to today?
Yeah, I just get certain, like yesterday I did a lot of emailing and that kind of things, because sometimes I'm just like, it's just hard to keep, pushing and pushing and pushing. And so I go through kind of, different days where I feel like motivated and it's fun. And then you can kind of cut and paste, and it is easier to do a whole bunch at once. And then like I went through all the presidential museums and I'm like, okay, let me do this. Or like I'll do research, like, okay, what are the, 10 biggest retirement homes in, Virginia? And then I'll go through all that, and then I'll email all of them and just kind of throw it out there and see who I hear back from, and kind of do it all at once. But because after a while it gets kind of tedious, just the emails and stuff like that. So I try to mix it up, like do the writing for a few hours and then do that when I'm kind of a little more mindless, as a way to take a break. And then, so it's sometimes you hear right back, and sometimes somewhere you think you're going to hear back from, you never hear back from. So you just never know. It's, I just think
anyone's waiting. If you're listening to this and wondering when is Rob going to reply to my email, my inbox fills up, and I pick about 2 days a week and say, all right,
yeah,
all my writing for the day, from the next 30 minutes, nothing but clearing out these emails that have accumulated. And so 5 days later, you might get a response from me. It's not because I wasn't in a hurry to talk to you.
right.
Stuff I had to do.
Well, yeah, but it's also, the whole batching concept is it's so much more time effective than like, stopping what you're doing to answer one email. And, I mean, it's, because
no fiction will never get written, right?
Yeah, you'd never get it. Yeah, you'd never get anything done. Yeah. So you kind of have to like unplug, but it is tempting though. You hear the little ding and all that stuff. But but it is nice. Like once I get into the researching and all that, it's kind of neat where I'm like, oh, 3 hours went by and it just flew, so that's neat. So I kind of go with like whatever my muse is for the day of feeling, whatever I feel inspired. But I definitely go through times where I'm just like, oh, I just can't send another email. And, just kind of, it's hard to keep, plug in, plug in, plug in. So that's why it's just fun to have.
There might be some of my favorite people in the world waiting there in the inbox.
Right.
Not right now. We'll get to it.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing too, is yeah, I don't mind that at all. I also feel like, okay, I know I tried, and instead of, I always like say to myself, it's better to have someone say no or not reply, than for me to say no to myself. Oh, I'm sure they wouldn't, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, okay, I tried. If I don't hear back, it took me 5 minutes, and then I've done my part, and it's, the universe can answer me, whether it's out there. And like stuff, I mean, I found stuff too, where there was a homeschool review, and I just was looking through my Facebook emails, and I realized that I was supposed to send this woman book like 6 months ago, and I forgot. And I wrote back and I said, I'm so sorry. I just saw this. Can I send them to you now? And she was like, sure. And so it happens on both ends, where it's hard when you've got that amount of traffic to keep up with everything. But that's why I've got all my scribbled little notes and everything. I feel like if I write it down, each day of like, I need to respond to this or send an invoice for that kind of thing. But yeah, there's always room for human error in everything.
I need to replay this part of the conversation for myself the next time I'm refreshing my inbox and thinking, why hasn't this person got back to me?
I know, you just never know, really. I mean, I had something the other day, it was so funny. Usually I have an event, and I usually email like the morning of and say, okay, I'm coming. I mean, this was totally booked. It was Tuesday at 2:00. I had it all. I had even given them a W-9. I'd given them an invoice. And then I emailed them last week. I was kind of on the ball last week, and then I didn't hear anything back. And then it was like, so then Tuesday morning I called, and usually I would just kind of show up. It was like, oh, I mean, it turns out they were like, oh my gosh, we totally forgot about you. We double booked, and we've got a George Washington interpreter coming at the same time. Can you just come another time? And I was like, okay, so, but then they've rescheduled, and they're like, okay, we want you to come twice. We want to have you talk about each of your books. And, so it all worked out. I mean, but it was just kind of funny, like, it just, things happen. So I had an afternoon to write that I didn't expect to have. So that worked out well. But yeah, it was just kind of funny. But it was just one of those where I was like thinking, why am I calling them? Usually I just, and it was like, I just had this feeling. I'm like, I just have a feeling about this one. And so, but you just got to be flexible with people. You just, it's just, things are going to happen. And I know when I've messed some things up too. So I'm always happy when someone shows me a little grace. So,
well, when you're dealing with book people, anything book related, 9 times out of 10, you're not dealing with somebody where that's their primary job.
Right.
If I'm talking to a book publicist, they may have a day job while they're building their publicist relations on the side. Certainly literary agents, we've heard enough of them on the show talk about they're working the job that pays the rent and then doing the literary agenting on the top of it. And it's just, people get busy, people have lives. Yeah, sure, Grace, I agree.
Yeah.